Good day, everyone. How are you on this fabulous June? It is June day. I know it's June 2nd, but still, I can't believe it's already June. I'm Bernadette Boas of Ball of Fire Coaching, and this is Power Hour Coaching, giving you an opportunity to get the support and the need and the want, and even some tough love that you need, want, and desire. It's all about your business, all about your career, all about your life. Whatever question or challenge you might be dealing with, feel free to post it in any one of the platforms that you are watching this, whether it's live or in replay. Be sure to post your question or challenge. Get the support and the help that you deserve to have. All right. I also like to, within our practice, I also really like to model what coaching is all about. It's a powerful tool for yourself or for others. And yet a lot of people don't understand what it's all about. So I've actually also been using these power hours every Thursday at 1:00 Eastern time to model what coaching is all about, just to give you an idea of the kind of support that you could have within your kind of your circle. By having a coach that you're working with. Now, that said, what we do here at Ball of Fire Coaching is we really work to ignite the leader within you. We all have the ability to lead in very influential ways, whether it's in our workplace or at home. And yet leadership is very misunderstood as far as what that's, what is considered leadership. And if you're out on LinkedIn at all today, it seems as if it's popping up everywhere, and the conversation is all around that leadership isn't the expertise, isn't the experience, isn't the hard skills that you have, but it's those soft skills. It's that ability to really influence and lead with compassion and empathy and kindness and authenticity. And so in Ball of Fire Coaching, we certainly work hard with our clients individually or as teams in order to really help them understand what that is all about. So modeling coaching as well helps to kind of give guidance to pulling out from individuals their true leadership, their true ability, and to leverage their riches, as I call them, their kindness, their compassion, their empathy, their authenticity, their gentleness, their humility, in order to really build the life or the career that they want for themselves. All right. So during these power hours, you are sending me your questions or challenges. You might be posting them while I'm here live or even while I'm in replay. And at the same time, hi, Benita. I'm sorry. I wanted to say hi to Benita. Hi, Benita. She's checking in right here from Atlanta, Georgia. That's where I am as well. Thanks for checking in. I appreciate that. So you can always post your questions or comments, the challenge that you might be having at any point in time on our Facebook page, our Shift to Riches Today Facebook page. I get most of my questions and most of the outreach through LinkedIn, through a private message on LinkedIn, or again, right here during our live or replay. And then what I make sure I do is I get with you directly, whether you've scheduled it through a complimentary strategy call that I offer up to anyone that is looking for some support, or if it's the fact that you did post a question or a challenge that you need some help with, I reach out to see if you want to get on a call and talk through it, or I'll just post or email you some tips, some strategies, sometimes some tough love in regards to what it is that you might be dealing with. All right. So be sure to just do that at any point in time, and let's get the support that you deserve to have. Okay. Let me review the questions that we're going to be going over today, and then we'll dive into each one of them. Again, I do always get questions through, but if you have some of your own, don't hesitate to post them so I can make sure that they are addressed for you while we're here. Okay. Now you have an extra bonus. Should you want to come into the studio with me? Yes, come online live with me right now over the next hour. You can always leave a comment like, hey, Bernadette, yes, I have a question. I'd love to join you live. And I'll shoot you a link to then come into the studio and we could talk one-on-one about what the situation is that you might be dealing with. Okay. I think I covered all the points, but let's dive into this, shall we? All right. So these are the questions first. The first one's going to be, is it really possible to find a job I love at my age? And then we're going to dive into, this was interesting that I got this question. Watching the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case, why do you think so many people don't believe her when she is so stubborn in her accusation? That was a loaded question. And I definitely appreciated it and certainly had my views on it. And then the last one is all about, it's a business owner. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and corporate professionals. A business owner who is very sleep deprived and very unmotivated in their work. Haven't gotten their business to a point where they can hire or pay anyone. They're exhausted and beat up basically, and they've been offered a job, and yet they really have never wanted to kind of go back and work for someone. They wanted to have their job, but they need some help, and they're trying to figure out how to make a decision of what's best. So we're going to dive into that as well. All right. So let me just make sure, let me post this just so you guys know. If you have questions, make sure that I'm aware of them, okay? All right, so we're first going to dive into this. The first one, is it really possible to find a job I love at my age? Now, her age is surprisingly, her age is only 40 plus. Now, I was thinking when I first saw this that it was a 50 plus, even 60 plus individual. Just because, as I even had a conversation with expert John Tarnoff yesterday, there's a lot of concern, a lot of fear when it comes to ageism and how long of a career can you have when you get to certain ages. So I was surprised and pleasantly surprised, but then we had to dig into it from a coaching perspective, that she is in her 40s and she's concerned in regards to this. So first off, let me just say, from a coaching perspective, my job, and I believe any coach's job versus a consultant, I'll talk to that in a minute, is to really ask a lot of questions. So you solve the problem, you come up with the solution, you figure out the answer to what it is that you're dealing with, because then that arms you with how to walk through a process of solving problems and finding solutions to your challenges and answering the questions that you have for yourself. So my first thing is always a laundry list of questions that I will ask someone, because what I also want to do is I want to dig into the motivation and the place that their question or challenge or concern or issue is coming from. So, it might just be a intellectual type of question. At the same time, there's a lot of emotion that I often find in my work with my clients, and therefore I really want to understand where all of it's coming from. So when I learned that she was in her 40s, the first question I asked is, what is her current concern? Where is it coming from? That she even has to find a new job. She actually is employed. And what is it that is provoking her to think about finding a new job and potentially finding a new job when she's at a particular age? And her feedback to me was the fact that she isn't very happy in her job, and she definitely feels that there's other opportunities out there for her. However, when it comes to submitting that resume at her age, that's her words, not mine. That's when she was getting concerned about what her opportunities are going to be. So apart from that, there wasn't really much underpinning that. There wasn't a lot of anxiety. It was more of intellectually, do I need to do something different based on my age if I were to go and find a new job? So a few things, and I want to share just a few stories, and also share a couple of pieces of advice, even from our expert guest on Shedding the Bitch Radio that will be airing next Tuesday at noon Eastern time. So first off is my sister. I'll never forget this because it was just so profound. My sister was in her early 50s, about 10 years ago, when she went, searching for a new job. She had lost her job, and she was searching for a new job and really questioning whether or not she was going to find not only a job, and we're going to talk about that with one of the other questions. I would never coach my clients to just look for a job. You want to look for purpose. You want to look for meaning and contribution and value. And you can find it at any age, but you have some work to do in order to do that. All right. Again, we're going to talk about that. So stick around. We're going to talk about how to go about doing that with one of the other situations, one of the other questions that were brought to me. But in my sister's case, she really questioned whether or not she would be able to find that perfect job. And so she happened to call me and we happened to talk. And I said, okay, so what is it that you're looking for? What type of job? What type of company? What type of culture? What is the salary you want to be making? And I didn't even kind of, constrain her, again, based on her age. I tend to not, if you focus on something like age discrimination, you're going to be discriminated against, period. End of story. You're putting out what into the universe, and you're going to get it back. So don't focus on that. Focus on the fact that, well, if you're unhappy in a job, then you're going to go and look for another job. And therefore, what is that I want? And I'm going to look for the one that's going to give me the most fulfillment and happiness and contribution and value. All right. And so my sister, I kind of coached her through the same thing, and she worked on those things. And the next thing you know, and I won't say it was overnight, but the next thing you know, she has had for a number of years now, the perfect job that set her up with everything that she wanted, in a career, whether that was opportunity, whether that was, working from home, the salary, the type of environment, so forth and so on. And so I, advise Linda the same thing. Just really understand what it is that you want and then go from there. Now, I have a client, and I've been working with him, 17, 18 years. Yes, 17 or 18 years. And he too, has recently was in this kind of like holding pattern around, does he stay with this big label type of company that, anybody would be impressed that he works for. And yet he has found in the time that he's been with them that size of company, the size of the team, the pressure, that's on him is not the environment that he wants. And so he started questioning, well, am I ever going to be able to find what I really want? And so we walked through the same process. We walked through the same, okay, what is it that you do want? Many of you don't know what it is that you truly do want. So figure that out for yourself. Okay. What type of company is it? How big, how small, what's the culture like? What type of boss do you want to work for? Do you want to be an individual contributor? Do you want to be a team member or a team leader? Really kind of lay out and even envision exactly what it is you want to get up every morning to and go to, from a work perspective. All right. And so I had him go through the same process, and I just got an email. Today's Thursday. I got an email Tuesday morning that basically said, just wanted to let you know, we'll talk about it on our next call, that, I've taken a position elsewhere, and this is the type of company, and this is who it is. And I'm so excited, and, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, woo, sweet. Now, key there, and this, I told this to Linda as well. The key point there that I just mentioned too is best time to look for a job is when you have a job. All right. So in Linda's case, for instance, I basically said, go and start kind of putting all these pieces together right now. So then while you're, when you're out there looking for it, you could be doing that now, and you're not kind of sacrificing the stability of a job and the income that you have. So I was very, 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 very excited for him. Um, all right. And then the last one that I want to, little tips that I want to provide here when it comes to, is it possible to find a job at your age? Again, do not pigeonhole yourself. Do not put that out in the universe. People find jobs at every age. So just kind of figure out what it is that you want. But I thought there was a few things that when I spoke to John Tarnoff, as I mentioned, he'll be our guest on Shedding the Bitch Radio next Tuesday at noon Eastern time. I think he raised up a couple of really great points that you could leverage as well early. But it's not nearly what he shared with us. So tune in to Shedding the Bitch Radio next Tuesday at noon Eastern time. Okay, so a couple things that he even suggested is, you have to start working on your network. You have to start building the relationships, especially for those like Linda and my other client, working on finding that job, building relationships, building a network now while you have a job is so much easier than if all of a sudden you're without a job and then you haven't worked on building that network, building that those relationships, building that circle of influence of people that could help you. Because of course, referrals are going to be the best way to find the perfect job that you want. Having people in your network that you could reach out to and say, hey, Joanne, I just want to update you. I'm seeking a new role, a new position, a new company to work with. And this is what I'm looking for. And I see that one or two people within that company. Would you, be open to doing an introduction? So that's invaluable when it comes to looking for a job at any age. Now, one of the other big things that I love that he talked about is the fact that at any age, companies are looking for, and you are going to be looked for different things. So for instance, skills. Everybody, that ever comes to me, whether they're in their early stages of their career or later stages of their career, are always focused on, really honing in on their skills, working on their skills, heavily spending money, investing time on their skills. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. What I'm saying though is if you're just starting your career and you're in your early 20s or even early 30s, even going into your 40s, skills are important. Having certain skills relevant to the job that you have and the jobs that you want is really relevant. But as you get older into your 50s and, even your 40s, 50s and 60s, they're not going to be looking to you necessarily for your skills as much as they're going to be looking for all the expertise, all the experience, all the growth, all the personal contributions you could be making in your role, whether that's as an individual contributor or as a team player or a team leader. So I loved when John really emphasized kind of the breakdown of what's required between 20, 30, 40, and then into your 50s and 60s. He is a expert and a key career and executive coach, primarily for those over 50. So I just loved his tidbits in regards to that if you are at a certain age, as Linda said, then, don't focus on your skills as much. Put the time into really understanding who you are, what makes you tick, what you're bringing to the table, what value you can give to a company, give to a team, give to individuals, and really kind of lean in on all of that as your what he calls your value proposition when you go looking for a job. All right. So I wanted to mention, those things, but I also saw a post from Stephen Bartlett on LinkedIn today. Like I mentioned, it just seemed like I woke up today and everything that's on LinkedIn is about soft skills versus hard skills. But what Stephen Bartlett posted in a GIF was a statement that basically read, "It's easier to teach new skills than it is to unteach old toxic behaviors." And I love that. I absolutely love that because again, at whatever age you're at, working on yourself, working on your own kind of being and your own mindset, your level of confidence and empowerment and empathy and compassion and kindness is really what is going to have you stand out amongst everybody else. You working on whether or not you have great PowerPoint skills or Excel skills or, other types of skills won't be that differentiator. Okay. So, what people will be looking for, as you go and look for a job at any age is more, how do you fit into the culture versus, whether or not your resume is packed with all kinds of accolades and awards. Okay. So I wanted to bring those up from experts beyond qualifier coaching, but let me just run down my suggestions to you. Know what you want. We talked about that. Stay true to it. If you come up with a criteria of what it is you're looking for from the job, from the culture, from the company, from the boss, from whomever, stay true to that. It's not all about money. All right. I would hope that money's low on that criteria list, that priority list, because it's not going to be about money if you're waking up every day miserable. Okay. Build those relationships. I already said, put culture over money, and then just simply connect and take action and build that network that you can reach out to. And while you still have a job and, or you're sharing your goals, you're sharing your aspirations, you're sharing, the future path that you have for yourself. And eventually you might want, the support and the help of others to get you there. All right. So, I hope that was helpful to Linda and anyone else that also might be in that position of whether or not you're looking for a job right now or that you will be at some time in the future. But even if you're not looking for a job, I told John yesterday, real quickly, I realized when I left corporate, my biggest mistake was I didn't build those, not build the relationships. I didn't kind of maintain that Rolodex, that network, those contacts, to where then I had those relationships after I left. So I could kind of lean into them and they could, lean in for help from me. I kind of walked out, and when I went to go and search for my next opportunity and to get some input and some ideas from people, I looked at my, basically my Rolodex at the time, and I was just like, oh my God, I only had like 500 from a 25-year career. So even while you're in your career that you absolutely love or that you might be, struggling with, build those relationships, build that network. All right. Okay. So the next question, I'm looking around in case there's other comments or other questions. I appreciated Benita stopping in and saying hello. All right. So the next question, which I was very surprised to get, and even this came through LinkedIn, which was even more surprising versus like Facebook. Watching the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case, I wanted to know your opinion. Why do you think so many people didn't believe her when she is so stubborn in her accusation? All right. I had to rip this thing apart. And I had to rip it apart before I reached out to her to have a conversation about it, because there's a lot in there. As I said, coaches, the core value that they bring, if they possess it, is to really read your words, not only on writing, but even as you're saying it, even, how it's being expressed across your face. But, tapping into what the real true meaning and motivation is from whatever it is that you're expressing to them. It's not just basically getting the question and answering it. So I had to dig into this because, one, I was shocked to have gotten it, something about Amber Heard. And then secondly, it was just loaded with some great curiosity on my part. So why do you think so many people didn't believe her? That was one thing that I dug in with her. The second part that I dug in with her is when she said, when she is so stubborn. I had to dig into stubborn. What does that exactly mean? What does that look like? And why did it kind of come across to her as stubborn? In her accusation. She didn't use another word like in her conviction, in her wrongdoing, in her belief, but accusation. So I really wanted to dig into all of this. Now, my first question typically, from a coaching perspective is always like, why is this important to you? But I kind of held that off. I actually started asking it and then I held it off until later. But anyway, so we're going to get to that. Like, why was this so important to her? What kind of irked her about this? So first off, why do you think so many people didn't believe her? Well, yeah, I caught a good amount of it as I would, be sitting in a, waiting room or an appointment and waiting on client or whatever the case might be. And I'm scrolling through Facebook, especially through the videos. And so I watched a good bit of it. And I have to say, why they didn't believe her is basically there was just, there was so many facts that refuted what it was that she was saying. Now, I always happen to tell people that, we don't live their lives. Why are we being kind of couch judgers when we're not there? We're not living their lives. We weren't in these rooms when something did or didn't happen. However, neither were the jury and anybody else. So we go with it, right? So the facts just refuted everything that she said. Her attitude was quite jarring. It was very aloof. It was very rude and disrespectful when, if she didn't stand up for when the jury came in or when the judge came in or out, just her whole posturing, her, the body language, even when she was on the stand with, there was absolutely no tears in all of the so-called, drama that she was depicting. So for me, and again, this was only, being asked of me, I didn't even believe her because of the facts, attitude, and basically her body language and behavior. Now, my biggest concern with all of that was, and is the fact that, well, if she walked into a courtroom and made all of this crap up, especially when it comes to abuse, that sets women back tremendously when it comes to being believed. So why do I bring that up here, right at this point in time? Because she then went on to say, the woman who reached out in regards to this question, when she is so stubborn, when she is so stubborn. And the first thing when I read stubborn, I thought, well, I don't know that it's stubborn or that she's just, because I know I've been this years ago, she is just so firm in what she actually does believe. Like she in some way, shape, or form probably believes that it actually happened when it didn't. Now, she has been diagnosed with, with a couple of personality disorders. Histrionic is one of them, and I'm not going to even attempt to get into describing them, but basically, well, I actually had it up on my thing in case anybody really did want to know, because histrionic is all about someone being dramatic, overly dramatic. Let me see. I was hoping okay, here we go. All right. So, because I'm not an expert, so I don't want to speak on this, but she has been diagnosed with histrionic personality disorder, which means overly theatrical or melodramatic, tends to be more common in women, can be learned or inherited. And those with the disorder tend to behave dramatically, rely on other people's approval to bolster their self-esteem, and have an overwhelming desire to be noticed. So I took Amber Heard's response where she, kind of said, women just, stepped back, decades, years of being believed. I took that as her unwillingness or her total blindness to the fact that what she believes happened actually never did. And so she's done more damage for women by bringing these false accusations than the guilty verdict did for women. So I found I found she didn't want me to use her name. I found this in this woman's question to me and the use of the word stubborn very interesting, because we all can be very stubborn in our beliefs, can't we? I mean, who, and there's so much evidence, of that out there in the world. I'm not even going to touch it because then that will just fuel some fire that I'm not interested in igniting, even as ball of fire coaching. But, you know, we all can get very stubborn in our beliefs to where the evidence could be put right in front of us. And yet we refuse to budge an inch, absolutely refuse to budge an inch. And that is a huge, huge problem. That's a huge problem for the world, but that's a huge problem for that individual. So my heart goes out to her, and that's Amber Heard. My heart goes out to her that she could be so stuck. I don't even want to say stubborn. She could be so stuck and actually just belligerent and refusing to own up to what actually might have happened, or in the jury's eyes did or didn't happen, to where her pride would get in the way. She would be called out as a liar, so forth and so on. And that's really more concerning to me than anything else. But really consider for yourself to really understand her. Consider for yourself, where have you been very, very stubborn, stuck, frigid, or rigid in your own beliefs. And then maybe you'll have a better, understanding and empathy and compassion for her. All right. And then, lastly, the use of the word accusation, as opposed to, using the word like what she believed, what actually, felt, or what actually happened, or the wrongdoing. She used the word accusation, and accusation is basically a claim of wrongdoing. So that could be simply why. And if Amber continues to feel as if, she had an accusation that was rightly, to be brought forward, you would just hope for her that she would accept the decision and move on with her life, and not kind of be stuck in this place, and refusing to kind of just let it go and move forward in her life. But for this woman that reached out to me and wanted, kind of my opinion on all this, I then did have to ask her, why is this important to you? Because again, as a coach, I sensed that there was something that was underlying, that there was a reason why this was bothering her. There was a reason why this was staying with her after the verdict, after she even learned of it. She doesn't know these people. She has no investment in these people. And so you have to ask, okay, so why is this so important? Like, what's coming up for you when you think about this situation? And it turned out, and this is the reason why she wants to stay anonymous, but it turned out that she has a reason to bring forward some abuse, some assault, that is kind of recent, recent being the last 5 or 7 years, and just kind of coming to the surface for her. And she, in watching this, and she's not nearly, anywhere near this stage of celebrity that Amber and Johnny are, but she's still very, very, very apprehensive about coming forward and discussing it, because she doesn't believe she'll be believed. So there's the damage, people. There's the damage from all of this. Is now that we have women questioning if they're going to be believed, and they were already questioning that to begin with, but now we have this big profile jury, situation that kind of validated that this woman, Amber, wasn't believed. Now, this individual that reached out to me, there's no reason why someone won't believe her, but now the stage has been set. And so it's heartbreaking, and I'll be very curious to watch kind of how things roll out and move forward when it comes to these heartbreaking situations. Uh, and if all of a sudden women are finding that, you know what, they're going to be found not guilty, or they're going to be found guilty of lying, and they're not going to be believed, and therefore I'm not going to come forward. How devastating, how heartbreaking is that? Now, that doesn't mean Johnny didn't, deserve a fair trial and to be proven innocent. It doesn't mean that men are never the victim. Um, but it's heartbreaking to learn that other women are dealing with this, and of course there are too many, actually. And I've never been asked a question in regards to that, so I was very humbled to be able to provide her my input and my coaching and guidance to her, which I won't go into exactly what I discussed with her, but that was kind of the surface response I gave her in regards to her question. Um, all I will say, all I would say to any woman out there is find the people that do believe you, but share it. What decision you choose to take, with whatever you need to, kind of get support on. That's up to you. But at the same time, you deserve to be supported. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be believed, and therefore find the outlet that will give you the safe space to heal. Okay? Because you deserve that. All right? And I will say, because I'll put this up here just so you have it, you can certainly link in with me. All right? That's not what I wanted. You can certainly link in with me. But you can also schedule some complimentary time with me to talk. And I can certainly do my best to point you in the right direction. All right? Okay. Now, let's see. Our final question, and I'm going to keep on a lookout for any others that might come across. Our final question is, I found myself over the last month sleeping in and unmotivated about my work. I own a small social media agency in Ohio and haven't gotten to where I can hire or pay anyone, so I'm exhausted and beat up. I was recently offered a job with a small agency, but really don't want to work for someone. But the idea of money coming in is attractive. What do I do? All right. So again, as someone's coach, if they have this situation, I just don't want to answer or provide some guidance in regards to the words. I really want to understand what's going on underneath those words. So I broke this out, and this is, again, my process when it comes to coaching. I broke this out I really wanted to understand the sleeping in and unmotivated. I wanted to understand she is a business owner, and she can't hire or pay anyone right now. So there's a kind of a business challenge there. She's exhausted and beat up. So that's her kind of emotions and how it's being projected. And she doesn't really want to work for someone else, even though she's being offered a job, and she's struggling. But at the end, she does say the idea of money coming in is attractive. So what does she do? So the first questions I would have for anyone, if you're dealing with something very similar, is because you don't have to have a business to be unmotivated or to be sleeping in and not doing much. I've shared many a time where few years ago, I don't know, the new year came in and I found myself on my couch for about 3 months, completely unmotivated, completely just flat, vanilla, didn't want to really do anything, work on anything. And I used that time, which is what I, suggested to her, is don't beat yourself up. Like she said, I'm exhausted and beat up. That really was about the work, actually. But don't even beat yourself up about being unmotivated or sleeping in. Do it. Your body's obviously telling yourself something. Your mind and heart are telling you something. And so just lean into it. Lean into it. But then as you're leaning into it, recognize it and start asking yourself a lot of questions like, why am I sleeping in? What am I feeling? What is, causing me this distress or this demotivation? Why am I not happy? What's causing me to be, kind of lethargic and lazy? What can I be doing differently? What will make me get motivated? What will get me out of bed? What could I be doing differently? So lean into your emotions. Don't just disregard them. Don't let anybody tell you, well, you shouldn't be sleeping in. You own a business and you're already unhappy that you're not making money. Don't no. Thank you very much. Don't need anything more piled on. But lean into it to figure out and work it through. All right. And if you're not a journaler, with a journal and a pen, I always suggest to my clients to become a journaler. Just write out what's going on, even when you're laying in bed, unmotivated to get out of bed, as you're hitting that snooze button. Just, what's going on? What is happening within you? And just really tap into that, because that'll give you a lot of your answers. Okay. So that was the first thing. Now the second thing I wanted to get into was her being a business owner. Congratulations. It's not an easy path to take. So kudos to you. She did have a job before going out on her own. So she certainly knows what the two worlds look like. But congratulations on starting your own business. That's fabulous. She's only been in business for about 2.5 years. So she's a new business owner. And I definitely understand that pain. And I definitely understand that struggle and that frustration of, waiting to get to the point where you have some consistent income, especially when you want to be hiring and building a team that will, get you to the next level. And we won't go into all of that here, but as I talked to her about her being a business owner, I did ask her questions around, and I would have you do the same for yourself, whether you're a corporate professional or a business owner, stressed and demotivated and sleeping in and just unfocused. Also ask yourself, what do I love about being a business owner? What do I love about being a corporate professional? What do I love about my job, about my company, about the people that I surround myself with? What do I love about what this business or this corporate career, what is it, what do I love about what it gives me, what it allows me to do or to have? And then get into the harder questions of what is it that is not serving me well? What is it that is draining me? What is it that is causing me stress and overwhelm and being burned out beyond the workload? Because, there's culture, there's the people, there's the policies and procedures that are needed to be followed. There's the fact that you might be more of an entrepreneur, more of a creative, more of an individual contributor, and yet you find yourself in a position or in a business that you've even built for yourself that works very against all of that. So you really, when I asked and started getting into it with her about being a business owner, as I would with you, I would really want you to understand all aspects of, you in that role, you in your work and life, you in what it is that you really, want to be and who you want to be, whether it has to do with being in an office or being at home. So that's really kind of what we dug into when it comes to her being a business owner. But then we did have to get into more business coaching. I had to dig into kind of, okay, so how are you structured? What are your goals and your plans for your business? And I would ask the same of someone in corporate. Ask any of my clients, and the first question is, what goals do you have for yourself? So it's getting more into the infrastructure of, her business. And then I would ask about, okay, so, what has your income plan been? What are you doing to attract clients? What are you doing to onboard new clients? What are your products and services look like? So would get into more, of the business coaching, more so than really understanding from a mindset perspective where she's coming from. But I should mention that my coaching is 80% mindset, 20% skill set. So when you come to me, you'll find that in the same in this case, is she was hoping for me to help her solve the problem of getting more money in the door. That's typically, why entrepreneurs especially will come to me. Yet that's the least of their problems. Okay, that's the least of their problems. Their problems that they really want to be focused on is the parts of her challenge or question to me. Sleeping, unmotivated, don't want to work for somebody else, feeling exhausted and beat up. Those are the things that she first needs to get a hold of. You first need to get a hold of before you start chasing that new client, that new job, that new promotion, whatever. You need to figure out kind of who you are, who you want to be, and what you need to do to fill the gap. And that all has to do internally, not externally. Okay. The external is, how is your business structured? How's your career path goals laid out? What steps are you taking? What have you done today? What are you going to do tomorrow? What's working? What's not working? All of that will come easily once you kind of figure out the you of it all. Okay. So we got into kind of a lot of that. I just flipped that right in front of all of you, didn't I? And then I wanted to really understand, okay, so, we need to work on the business structure, the business plan, the direction you're going. Okay, fine. At the same time, you don't want to kind of just negate this opportunity that you have, this offer that you have for a job. Because like I had mentioned before, I've had a number of clients that, especially that they're entrepreneurs, they've started their own businesses, and then 3, 5, 7 years into it, they realize I'm not cut out for this. This isn't what I want. I like the stability. I like the team. I like the, building a business within a business. And therefore they've made the decision to go back into working for somebody else. And so you really want to kind of evaluate that, use this opportunity of being stressed and overwhelmed and exhausted and unmotivated, to really think about, okay, so what is it about being on my own that I love? What is it that I don't love? What is it that working for somebody else? The question I asked is, why don't you want to work for somebody else? Because I've asked that question to myself, gosh, a dozen times over the last 12, 13 years, is why wouldn't I go back to corporate? Because I'm offered it. Not a lot, but I've been offered it numerous times. Why wouldn't I go back? Why would I just, continue on my own? So I really wanted her to evaluate the same thing. So, why is it that you don't want to work for somebody else? What experience did you have that has you really turned off about working for somebody else? What benefits, though, did you gain from working for somebody else? What was the impact of your experience to where you got to the point where you're like, nope, I don't want to work for anybody else? I mean, trust me, that's a very valid response and a very true response for many, many, many people. But there's also a lot of people out there that really are just doing what they're doing because they're there. And to change and, to totally shift can create a lot of upheaval and a lot of discomfort for somebody. But if they were really truly to ask themselves, am I happy doing what I'm doing for whom I'm doing it? A lot of times that answer won't be yes. So, I would really want you, as I did her, to really understand that. So look at the pros, look at the cons, look at the gains, look at the drains, as I call them. Look at, where it's coming from, this response of, I don't want to work for somebody else. Because when I left corporate, fired from corporate, I immediately said, there's no way I'm going back and finding another job. I'm going out on my own. I mean, I was stubborn, talking about the word stubborn like we did earlier. I started my own business, and even was kind of to the point where I didn't even want to work with corporate clients in my own business. That wasn't going to be my direction, my path. So I immediately went out and started working with entrepreneurs, with business owners, and even male or female. And then it went to females for a good amount of time. But then I kept, I kept getting pulled back into doing corporate work. And over the last, I would say, year or so, found a sweet spot that I absolutely, absolutely love working on my own, but with corporate clients. So I've even been where she is, and yet, working to reconcile and working through where all of that is coming from, and then what can you do to find your happy place, your happy place. So then the next thing that I asked her was, have you evaluated everything? Have you really looked at both of them? Have you really looked at what you're going to gain from both of them, what you're going to lose from both of them? It doesn't mean that you're never going to go out on your own again, so forth and so on. But have you looked at the full picture? Because without looking at the full picture and just using your emotions to make your decision, you could be, kind of shooting yourself in the foot. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So I summed it up for her like this, and I'll sum it up for you like this. Evaluate where you are right now, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, financially. Look at all of it. Where are you right now? Where do you want to be? And what is going to allow you? What's going to get you to where you want to go? The answer could be very different than what you're expecting. And then kind of lay out a plan for addressing it. Lay out a plan, and that could be even laying out the plan for making the decision as to whether or not you're going to work for that company or you're going to stay on your own. But when you make that decision of staying on your own, then you need to say, okay, well, I'm complaining that I'm burned out, I'm exhausted, I'm not earning the income to be able to hire. So then you're going to need to get really sharp and get very attentive and get the support and the help and the guidance to lay out the plan that's going to get you there, to find out what is it that you're not doing or doing, but yet is preventing you from getting to your goal. Because there's something. And in this case, there's a number of things, but there's something. So make sure that you kind of then say, all right, I'm going to put a actionable plan in place with specific goals, milestones, measurements, and I'm going to then work on it. I'm going to build a kind of a team, a mentor, coaches around me to help me, and I'm going to work my way through this. Now, I mentioned to her, because 99% of the time, this type of self-care, I'll call it, self-work that she would be doing, that I went through multiple times over the last 15 years, will jar her out of that sleeping in, demotivated state, the burnout, the exhaustion. All of a sudden, she's opening herself up to take in new opportunities, new answers to questions, new solutions to problems, new actions to take. And all of a sudden, there's a kind of a vibration that she's creating, that you would be creating within yourself, that'll get you out of the place of being stuck or unhappy or demotivated. Okay. Even when it's a tough decision that you're in the middle of. So just keep moving, take one step, one action, move forward, and you will be very surprised that you'll turn around and be like, oh, wow. Okay. So I'm still not where I want to be, but yet I'm not sleeping in and I'm not feeling so demotivated. And I do find that there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of things for me to be doing to kind of keep moving forward. Because that's the key, is to keep moving forward. All right. Okay. So those are the questions that I have, but I'm going to take a look around and make sure that there isn't anyone else that is reaching out for any reason at all. But keep in mind, we do this each Thursday at 1:00 Eastern time. And it gives you an opportunity to get the coaching and the support that you need on any type of business, career, or life question or challenge that you're having. And so all you need to do is post your comments either below, whether we're live or even afterwards in replay, because we have a lot of viewers that will come back and watch it in replay, and we will reshare it as well. And just even reach out to me via LinkedIn as a private message, or you can email me at bernadetteboas@ballofireinc.com. And again, you have an opportunity, should you have a question or a challenge, just like I offer to these 3 individuals, and I do to anyone that comes to me, let's get on a phone call and let's talk for 30 minutes. Let me help you and give you guidance and advice and some tips to keep you moving forward. It's complimentary. And it's a great way for you to also learn what coaching is all about, and seeing how it might, fit into your toolbox, so to speak. But even so, there's no obligation. I'm not even going to attempt to bring up, coaching with me during our call. But it's just a really good opportunity for you to get the tips and advice, sometimes tough love, that you want and need to keep moving forward. All right. So if you are interested, feel free to go and schedule a call. If not, tune in next Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Post your questions, send them to me through LinkedIn, and let me get right back to you with whatever guidance I can provide. All right. I'd be honored to. So for everybody here in the Ball of Fire coaching community, thank you. And I will see you next Thursday at 1 p.m. Take care, everybody. Bye.